This is the Fury. It's also adorable. Love you, baby. Hello, everybody. My name is Richard Vigorelli, and this is the Vigorelli Institute. This is part 2 of a series about Game of Thrones and what the future holds for this wonderful and amazing land. And, well, we're talking about Westeros itself. Okay, that is the Kingdom of Westeros, not the continent. We already talked about the North. That's in part 1. Go ahead and check that out. So, at the end of the show, and by the way, I'm not including any lore from the books because I'm just working from the show because I know the show and the show's over. Books are not. I haven't read them. I don't know them. Okay, so on the show, when we leave off, Bran is Bran the Broken. He is king of Westeros, and he's the king of Westeros. He really doesn't seem that interested in ruling/governing. He most likely is just going to go around in his wheelchair and touch trees and get lit and wander around in time, and that's all. Okay? The actual running of the country is going to Tyrion Lannister, who is the Hand of the King, which in this world is basically a prime minister. Okay? So it's a kingdom that has a king and has a prime minister. Now the king is not hereditarily named anymore. The king is named by election. Now this is election from noble families, each one representing a different area of the country, and they just say, "You're it, dude. Yay." And, you know, when they die or they get sick of him, I guess they replace him. Okay? Well, at the end of the show, a character did speak up and say, why don't we have everybody else pick? Okay, maybe we can get some actual frickin' talent in here, okay? You know, we've been ripping each other apart for how many centuries now? Come on. Said, oh, that's dumb. Well, that character was Sam. And what he proposed was republicanism, a republic. Okay. Now, a little bit of background on Sam. He does come from a noble family. It's a second-tier noble family. That is the Tarleys. They are hunters and like major military types. Well, he was a little on the chunky side and liked books. That's my phone. They can wait. So, because he liked books, his dad didn't like him, so he got his butt kicked up to the wall where he could freeze and or die, and his dad didn't care. Okay, he actually threatened to do him himself. Yeah, nice dad. Great. Father of the Year. Anyway. So he joins the Night's Watch because he doesn't have a choice in the matter, almost dies a few times, manages to survive all of this warfare and stuff, and pops down and becomes a maester. And he's really, really bad at it. Okay? So, he abandons his post as maester, goes and saves the world, and everybody's happy. So at the end of the show, of course, he's reinstated as a maester, and he's also the maester of the small council. He's the court maester, because that makes sense. Seriously. Anyway, lore, okay? And he says, you know, why don't we create what in our timeline we will call a republic, okay? Now, Sam, at this time, is give or take late 20s, early 30s. So he's still got quite a few years left. Lots of time to sit down and write stuff. He's going to. Most likely he is going to write a book that basically outlines a republic. Okay? Now, in the interim, Westeros for about the next 20, 30 years is actually going to be pretty quiet. Okay? Mostly because even if instability comes up, nobody's going to have the gumption or capacity to do anything about it. It'll just be grumble, 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 make things. Okay, and that's it. Okay? That's not going to hold. So while Sam is coming up with what a republic is, various noble families of the kingdom are going to be eyeing each other and polishing things and sharpening things. Okay? What they have to do is they need to get to the baby making real fast because a significant amount of the population got wiped out. Okay? There was a 5-point civil war, then a political purge done by the Lannisters, then there was an all-out massacre done by Daenerys as she attempted to conquer, which was so horribly written, but off your high horse. Okay? There's the manpower of the country is a little low. Okay? So there's going to be entire villages, entire cities that are not going to have people living in them. There's going to be ghost towns all over the place in Westeros. And one of the things that needs to happen is there needs to be a lot of babies born. They need to be born fast. Otherwise the country is just not going to make it. Okay? And that's going to do some things. Now, the noble family that gets the most soldiers quickest, depending on what they want to do, will depend on what happens. Now, if a noble family comes up that's got a lot of soldiers under their banner, and they don't like the way things are running, they'll attack. Guaranteed. If, however, they do like the way things are going, then they will start to bolster the nation's military. Now, if enough of a backing for them arises, then we'll probably see the first professional army in Westeros, probably about the 20-30 year mark. Okay? If, however, they don't like the way politics is running, then another civil war will come up. Okay? They will try to take the throne, whatever it's called at that point. They may keep calling it the Iron Throne, but they probably won't. I don't know. Maybe the Bran chair? Whatever. Anyway, I'm also kind of concerned for Tyrion. At the end of the show, he's late 30s, somewhere in his 40s maybe. And he's been through a lot. Okay, he's a reformed alcoholic. He's reformed, I don't know what word YouTube's going to let me use. He liked girls a lot. Okay, so he's gone straight, as it were, and there may be some problems here. Okay, if he gets too soft. I don't know what the stipulations of his position are, if it's reappointment after X amount of time, if it's appointment for life, I don't know. I'll assume it's appointment for life. Either you get sick of it and quit, or somebody just says, hi, you don't work here anymore. Okay? If that happens, well, naming a new hand might be a problem because Bran's off doing whatever his Bran does. So the running of the country may become very complicated. Now, one of the most powerful cities, Highgarden, is run by a guy who's worse than Tyrion, and he's also an ex-mercenary. He's not a good person, okay? So, I would expect him, because Highgarden's the capital of the region called the Reach, the babies there are going to be a little bit easier to get made because that's where all the food is, okay? Unless there was a massive population reduction. So, I would expect any political instability to come out of the Reach, okay? Rather than the Stormlands, the Riverlands, or anywhere else for that matter. However, I would also expect the Dornish to raise up a big old stink, okay? Because they were relatively untouched, and they don't particularly like the people from the north, as they call them, what we would call Westeros, okay? So I am expecting Dorne within 20, 30, maybe 40 years to either invade the Reach and start taking their food production, or just head north and try to take the Central Territories. Okay? That's my expectation. They'll probably win. Okay? That's all coming up in the next little while. Now, let's say that doesn't happen. You know, there's a little bit of political instability. There's a couple of slugging matches between a few noble families, and other than that, everything's fine. Okay? Within probably 50 to 60 years, this is after, now that's plus the 2030 that I'm talking about, so we're leaning a better part of a century. After the end of the show, somebody in Old Town is going to be cruising around in the Maester's library, and he's going to come across Sam's book. Yeah, you thought I forgot about that, didn't you? Yeah. And he's going to outline a republic. This guy is going to start spreading this message around. And he's going to convince a good number of people not to bow before a monarch. Okay? Even if that monarch is elected, because they didn't choose him. Okay? And this is why that's dumb. He's going to outline all of these things, and there's going to be a revolution. Now, that is assuming within 100 years' time, Westeros is even a thing. Okay? I'm expecting at some point in there, because of Bran, because Bran's going to be off doing whatever it is Bran does, they're going to say, you know what, he ain't never here. He doesn't want the job. We need a new leader. So they're going to hold a king's moot, and there's going to be some kind of political nonsense going on, and 1 or 5 families is going to get slighted, and we get another civil war. Okay? But this civil war will most likely be one of succession. That is what we call the American Civil War. Okay? A whole other video as to what the naming of that is stupid, but anyway. Okay? A bunch of little countries are going to pop up. Okay? They're going to declare independence from the crown, and they're just going to go off and do their own thing, because clearly Bran is not worth following. Okay? So, this has happened in our timeline. That was called the Holy Roman Empire. Okay? The Holy Roman Empire was created in Germany, and we know the cliche, neither Holy Roman, yada yada. Okay? And the way it would work is 7 of the constituent nations would decide on which one of the constituent nations would lead the country. So the capital migrated every little while. And depending on the time period, it was hereditary or it wasn't hereditary. Okay? Really hard to tell. It was a total mess, and broad strokesing with it is ridiculous. So Westeros is going to go through the exact same thing. Now, depending on what happens over in Essos, as technology improves, the free cities may start picking at Westeros. Okay? Now, one of the things that's also going to create more political instability, but also hamper it, is the printing press. And I'm expecting that to come out of either Dorne or the Reach, because wine. Okay? The Dornish make the best wine. They have to have a wine press to make it. So I'm willing to bet somebody's going to come up with a thing, and they're going to start printing. Okay? And information is going to flood, especially Sam's book. That will then get doctored, manifesto will get created, and now you have a complete total political movement. So within about 200 to 300 years, I'm expecting Westeros to have completely fragmented out into a bunch of city-states, a couple of kingdoms here and there, a few republics, all with crisscrossing alliances and balances of power, yada yada. As technology improves and more cultural cross-pollination happens either through trade or conquest, Westeros may reconstitute itself, but it will be under a completely different name. Okay? no idea what that is. It will most likely not take the same path as the North. A couple of the regions I can just about guarantee are going to change their name, though. Okay, they'll most likely come out of the names of whatever family becomes prominent there. That's my expectation. Okay. I am expecting, as technology improves, for wars to get that much bloodier, just like they did in our timeline, and balances of power to become that much more tense, just like they did in our timeline. Okay? The borders I'm expecting to shift comparatively wildly throughout the next few centuries until the nuclear age comes about, depending on where their analog of uranium comes up. This could go sideways fast. But if they make it through that when the information age hits, I would expect in Old Town, because that's basically their Alexandria, there to be a big library, and there's going to be tours there, and there's going to be little displays, one with Daenerys going like this, and Tyrion going like this, and all of that, and tours being given, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So my expectation is Westeros is going to be in for a big old rough patch coming in the next 30 to 100 years. Then alternating détentes and rough patches, yada, yada, yada. Okay? So hopefully I was clear. If you're new to the channel, hit that big red subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and go ahead and put down your thoughts as to what you think would happen in Westeros or any other country like that. I want to know, okay? And if you want to support me in my work and leave suggestions for videos like this, feel free to pop over to Patreon. I believe that starts at tier 2. I think it's like $2. Okay? That would kind of help. Okay? So, talk to you later, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.